The Arcturian hegemony stood as the most feared power in their section of the galaxy. Over 3 centuries, they had brought 17 star systems under their control. Their method never changed: observe, evaluate, and conquer. Their tall, 6-limbed forms and advanced technology made resistance futile for most species they encountered. Fleet Commander Tak stood on the bridge of the Dominant Will, the flagship of the Arcturian fleet. His blue-scaled skin reflected the light of the command console as he reviewed the reports from the scout ships that had been watching Earth for the past 5 years. "This species seems particularly primitive," he noted to his second-in-command. "Their weapons still rely on chemical propellants and nuclear fission. They waste resources fighting among themselves over arbitrary territorial lines." "True, Commander," his officer replied. "Their most advanced fighters can barely reach their own orbital satellites. Their ground forces still use wheeled vehicles and explosive projectiles." Tak flicked his third eye membrane in what passed for amusement among his kind. And yet they broadcast all their entertainment and communications into space as if inviting conquest. They'd practically announced their vulnerabilities to the cosmos. The commander made his decision quickly. "Prepare for first contact. Standard diplomatic approach. We'll evaluate their resources in person before beginning the integration process." As the massive Arcturian vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected its presence. The ship was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers in length, with a distinctive crescent shape that housed weapons capable of reducing cities to ash in seconds. In a secure underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, not far from Geneva, General Kim paced the floor of the United Earth Defense Council chamber. Representatives from every major military power on the planet sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the holographic display of the approaching alien vessel. "They're coming exactly as we predicted," General Kim said. "Right on schedule." Admiral Park nodded. "The decoy technologies worked. They think we're still using F-35s and Abrams tanks as the core of our military." "What about our orbital defenses?" asked Colonel Lee. "Still hidden," confirmed General Kim. "The Sol Shield network remains in standby mode, completely masked by our quantum displacement technology. The aliens have no idea we can detect their scanning attempts. For almost 50 years, since the Proxima Centauri signals had been decoded in 2078, humanity had known they weren't alone. The messages contained enough information about the Arcturian hegemony to understand the threat they posed. World leaders had made an unprecedented decision: prepare in secret for the inevitable contact. The world's public military parades still showcased technology that was, in reality, decades behind what actually existed. Nations maintained the appearance of rivalry and technological stagnation. Meanwhile, deep underground and beneath the oceans, humanity built its true defenses. "The charade has worked perfectly," said Admiral Park, studying the alien ship's approach vector. "Their scans show exactly what we want them to see: a divided planet with minimal space presence and outdated military capabilities." General Kim pulled up another display showing green dots representing Earth's hidden defense installations. "All Phase 3 facilities are ready. The lunar bases report full operational status, and the Jupiter outposts are on standby." The Arcturian vessel took position in Earth's orbit, its massive shadow falling over Europe as it hovered above Geneva. Smaller craft deployed from its hull, descending toward the United Nations headquarters. Inside his private office, UN Secretary General Yoon watched the ship's approach. Unlike most of humanity, who were experiencing their first alien contact with a mixture of fear and awe, he felt a grim satisfaction. The plan was working. His secure phone rang. "Yes. Sir, Defense Council reports all systems are green," said a voice. "Operation False Flag is proceeding as planned. The visitor will land in 12 minutes. "Very good," Yoon replied. "And our special guest?" "Ready to play her part. She's been fully briefed." The Secretary General ended the call and straightened his tie. In the mirror, He caught his own reflection and the hint of a smile. Humanity had spent generations fighting itself, perfecting the art of war. Now that expertise would serve a greater purpose. When Fleet Commander Tak stepped from his shuttle onto Earth's soil, he was greeted by a delegation of Earth's apparent leaders. They were smaller than he had expected, soft-looking creatures with only 2 arms and eyes that didn't properly track movement. "Welcome to Earth," said Secretary General Yoon with a practiced look of awe and slight fear. "We are honored by your presence." Tak didn't bother with pleasantries. "I am Fleet Commander Tech of the Arcturian hegemony. Your world has been noticed by our civilization. We come to offer you the opportunity to join our collective." The humans exchanged nervous glances, exactly as expected. Tak had seen this reaction on 17 other worlds. The fear, the uncertainty, the desperate hope that submission might mean survival. "Of course," Yoon said with appropriate deference. "We would be honored to discuss terms. Perhaps you would join us inside for discussions." As Tak followed the humans into the Grand United Nations building, his personal scanner analyzed everything. The building materials were primitive, mostly concrete and steel. The security forces carried projectile weapons that couldn't even penetrate Arcturian skin. Even their communication devices used easily intercepted radio waves. What Tak couldn't detect were the quantum-encoded signals passing between Special Agent Min in the security detail and the defense network. Nor could he see the advanced scanning technology hidden in the seemingly decorative wall panels, mapping every aspect of Arcturian biology. In a secure room beneath the New Andes Mountains, Dr. Han watched the data flow in. "We're getting everything," she told her team. "Cellular structure, energy readings, technological signatures. Their shielding technology is impressive but predictable." Back in Geneva, Tak sat across from Earth's leaders at a large table. "Your planet has resources we require," he said bluntly. "Your people have skills that can be useful. The hegemony offers protection in exchange for your service." "Protection?" asked Yoon innocently. "From what dangers?" Tak's mouth parts shifted in what passed for a smile. "The universe is full of threats. Without our protection, your species would be vulnerable. Other civilizations are not as generous as we are." General Kim, playing the role of a simple military advisor, asked, "And if we decline this generous offer?" "That would be unfortunate," Tak said. "We would be forced to demonstrate why 17 other systems chose cooperation." The Earth representatives exchanged worried looks that masked their internal satisfaction. Every word, every threat was being recorded and analyzed. The Arcturians' arrogance was providing exactly the intelligence they needed. "We would need time," Yoon said, feigning concern. "Our people are not united. We would need to explain this to our various nations." Tak considered this. His scans showed no significant defensive capabilities that could threaten his ship. These humans were barely space-capable, still using chemical rockets and primitive satellites. Their request for time was merely the desperate plea of the weak. "You have 72 Earth hours to prepare your people," he said magnanimously. "Then we will begin integration." As the Arcturian delegation returned to their ship, military leaders around the world received the same message. Phase 4 authorized. 72-hour countdown initiated. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, mammoth doors slid open on the ocean floor as dormant defense platforms began powering up. In the asteroid belt, mining operations transformed into weapon stations. On the far side of the moon, 3,000 microsatellites prepared for deployment. The trap was set, and the Arcturians had walked right into it. 24 hours after the first meeting, Commander Tak summoned Earth's leaders back to the landing site near the United Nations building. This time, he did not bother leaving his ship. Instead, the humans were escorted into a large chamber within the Arcturian vessel, where they stood like students before a stern teacher. The room was purposely designed to intimidate. The ceiling towered 15 meters high. The lighting cast harsh shadows across alien technology that pulsed with energy. 6 armed Arcturian guards stood at attention, their weapons visibly powered and ready. Tak sat on an elevated platform, looking down at the human delegation. Secretary General Yoon, General Kim, and 5 other world leaders maintained carefully neutral expressions as the alien commander activated a holographic display. "These are our terms," Tak announced without preamble. The hologram showed Earth, with overlay maps highlighting specific regions rich in minerals, water, and biological resources. "The Arcturian hegemony claims protective status over your world," he continued. "In exchange for our technology and defense, Earth will provide annual tribute of 40% of all planetary resources." The humans exchanged glances as Tak continued listing demands. "Your people will serve as labor forces in our mining operations throughout this sector. We find human physiology well suited to certain tasks our people prefer not to perform." The hologram shifted to show images of humans working in what appeared to be mining facilities on barren worlds. The conditions were clearly harsh, the workers thin and exhausted. "Those who cooperate will receive adequate nutrition and housing. Those who excel may earn additional privileges." General Kim stepped forward slightly. "And if we refuse these terms?" Tak's third eye membrane flickered in what the humans now recognized as amusement. With a gesture, the hologram changed to show Earth again. Red targeting markers appeared over major cities: New York, Tokyo, London, Beijing, Mumbai. "Resistance would be unfortunate," Tak said coldly. "Our ships carry weapons capable of reducing your largest cities to ash in minutes. We prefer cooperation, but we are prepared for alternatives." To demonstrate, he pressed a control on his chair. The hologram showed live footage of a small, uninhabited island in the Pacific. A beam of light flashed from the Arcturian ship in orbit. The island vanished in a blinding explosion, leaving nothing but boiling seawater. "That was 1/10 the power of our main weapons," Tak noted. "Do you understand your position now?" Secretary General Yoon stepped forward, his head slightly bowed in apparent submission. "We understand completely, Commander. But I must ask for time to prepare our people. As I mentioned before, Earth is divided into many nations. We need to explain these terms to various leaders and prepare our populations." "How much time?" Tak asked impatiently. 72 hours, Yoon replied. 3 Earth days, just enough time to broadcast the message globally and begin organizing the resource collection you require. Tak considered this. His intelligence officers had confirmed that Earth possessed no weapons that could threaten his ship. Their most advanced missiles could be intercepted long before reaching orbit. Their primitive nuclear weapons would be useless against Arcturian shields. "Very well," he agreed finally. "You have 72 hours. When I return, I expect to see your world prepared to begin its service to the hegemony." As the human delegation was escorted back to Earth, Tak's second-in-command approached him. "Commander, our sensors have detected increased activity at several military installations. The humans appear to be moving equipment and personnel to remote locations." Tak dismissed the concern with a wave. "Let them hide their toys. It makes no difference. Their most advanced weapons are several centuries behind our technology." Still, his officer persisted, "Should we not investigate these movements?" "Send additional scout ships if you wish," Tak said. "But it is wasted effort. I have seen this behavior on 17 worlds before this one. They always make futile preparations before accepting reality." Back on Earth, in the secure underground command center beneath the Alps, the human delegation dropped their submissive act the moment they were alone. "The arrogant fool took the bait completely," General Kim said, removing his jacket. "He didn't even bother scanning us for communication devices." Secretary General Yoon nodded. The quantum transmitter recorded everything. All his threats, the weapons demonstration, everything. "Did you see their shield configurations when they fired on the test island?" Admiral Park asked excitedly. "The energy pattern matches exactly what our simulations predicted. Their defensive technology hasn't evolved in over a century." In a nearby room, Dr. Han was already analyzing the biological samples collected during the visit to the alien ship. Her team had managed to place microscopic collection devices on the floor that gathered skin cells and other biological material from the Arcturians. Their cellular structure is fascinating, she reported. Highly resilient to radiation, but with surprising vulnerability to certain frequencies of ultrasonic waves. This could be useful. General Kim activated the main command display, showing a global map with hundreds of green dots representing hidden military installations. All defense stations report ready status. The lunar bases have completed final preparations. Deep space platforms are online. And the Phantom Fleet, UMAST, fully operational. The ships are maintaining quantum stealth protocols. The Arcturians have no idea they exist. In orbit, Scout Officer G of the Arcturian hegemony directed his small vessel toward an area of increased human activity in the remote mountains of what humans called Colorado. His sensors detected unusual energy readings, but the source appeared to be deep underground. "Command, I'm detecting some form of energy signature," he reported. "But it's likely just their primitive nuclear power sources. The radiation shielding is consistent with their technology level." What Jay couldn't detect was the advanced quantum displacement field hiding the true nature of the facility. What appeared to his sensors as a simple underground bunker was actually one of Earth's most advanced military research centers, extending 10 kilometers beneath the Rocky Mountains. Inside, Dr. Seo calibrated the final adjustments on the planetary defense grid. "Grid nodes 1 through 500 are green," she reported. "The remaining nodes will be online within 48 hours. In another section of the facility, Colonel Min supervised the loading of microscopic combat drones into deployment vessels. These drones, no larger than dust particles, could infiltrate alien technology and disable it from within. "Drone battalions Alpha through Echo are ready," he confirmed, "just waiting for deployment orders." Across the planet, similar preparations continued. In deep ocean trenches, enormous hangar doors opened to release vessels that had remained hidden for decades. In the Amazon rainforest, what appeared to be dense jungle transformed as camouflage fields deactivated, revealing launch platforms for orbital defense systems. Commander Tak, meanwhile, celebrated his easy conquest. "Add another resource-rich world to our collection," he told his officers. "These humans are softer than most species we encounter." They didn't even attempt to resist. His intelligence officer frowned slightly. "Commander, there's something unusual about their behavior. Most species show more fear, more panic. These humans seem almost calculated in their responses." "That's because they still believe they have hope," Tak replied dismissively. "Once we begin the resource extraction and labor reassignments, they'll understand their place." As the Arcturian ship maintained its position over Geneva, its sensors continued to scan Earth's surface. They detected military vehicles moving, communication signals increasing, and human aircraft taking off and landing at higher rates than normal. But nothing in their observations suggested a serious threat. The trap was nearly ready. In just 48 more hours, humanity would reveal its true strength, and the Arcturian hegemony would face something they had never encountered before, a prey that had been waiting for the predator all along. The 72-hour deadline arrived. On the bridge of the dominant will, Commander Tak prepared to receive Earth's formal surrender. His crew had spent the time cataloging Earth's resources and planning extraction routes. The massive ship's hold was already being converted into processing centers where humans would be sorted for labor assignments. "Open communication with their leaders," Tak ordered, settling into his command chair. The main view screen activated, showing not the meeting room where they had previously gathered, but what appeared to be a formal office. Behind a wooden desk sat a woman Tak had not seen before. "I am President Sunwoo of the United Earth Government," she said calmly. "I speak for all humanity." Tak's third eye blinked in confusion. "Where is Secretary General Yoon?" "He was designated as your speaking representative." Secretary General Yoon was merely one of our diplomatic corps, President Sunwoo replied. "For matters of planetary security, I hold final authority." This was unexpected, But Tak saw no reason for concern. It was common for prey species to shuffle their leadership before capitulation, often sacrificing previous leaders to curry favor with the hegemony. Very well, Tak said impatiently. Have you prepared your people to begin resource collection? Our processing ships will arrive within 6 hours. President Sunwoo's expression remained calm. We've reviewed your proposal and prepared our response. She pressed a button on her desk. Perhaps you should look outside your viewport, Commander. Tak turned to his sensor officer, who suddenly shouted in alarm. Commander, multiple objects deploying from Earth's moon. The tactical display showed thousands of small objects emerging from the lunar surface, spreading out to form a network around Earth. Before Tak could respond, his ship's sensors detected massive energy surges from Earth's oceans. Across the planet's surface, the waters churned as enormous platforms rose from the depths. These weren't the primitive oil drilling platforms the Arcturians had observed before. These were advanced weapons platforms, each bearing technology that matched or exceeded the hegemony's own capabilities. What is happening? Tak demanded, rising from his chair. Scan those platforms. I can't get clear readings, his science officer replied frantically. They're protected by some kind of energy field our sensors can't penetrate. On the view screen, President Sunwoo continued speaking, her voice steady. Humanity has lived in the shadow of our own self-destruction for centuries. We've pointed nuclear weapons at ourselves for generations, always one button away from extinction. That experience taught us caution. Around major cities across the planet, shimmering domes of energy appeared, quantum displacement fields that could redirect any attack into another dimension. The weapons you see now represent merely 5% of our defensive capability, President Sunwoo said. We've known about your hegemony for decades. The Proxima Centauri civilization warned us before you conquered them. Tak felt a cold sensation in his secondary heart. The Proxima system had been conquered 30 Earth years ago. There should have been no way for these humans to have received warnings. Impossible, he whispered. Your species barely has the technology to reach your own moon. President Sunwoo allowed herself a small smile. That's what we wanted you to believe, Commander. Everything you've seen of our military and technology has been carefully staged for observers like you. The fighter jets, the aircraft carriers, the missiles, all of it outdated technology we maintain specifically to hide our true capabilities. On the dominant Wills Bridge, alarms blared as sensors detected new threats. From hidden bases in Earth's asteroid belt, larger vessels were emerging. Real warships, not the primitive spacecraft the Arcturians had observed before. Commander, the tactical officer shouted, I'm detecting antimatter signatures from those vessels. They're powered by containment technology that matches our own. President Sunwoo continued her explanation. When we detected your scout ships 5 years ago, we accelerated our final preparations. We thank you for your patience in giving us these 72 hours. It allowed us to bring our full defense grid online. Tak struggled to comprehend what was happening. In all the hegemony's history of conquest, no species had ever concealed their true technological level so successfully. The implications were staggering. If you were capable of this, he said slowly, why did you not reveal your strength immediately? Why the deception? We needed to understand your intentions completely, President Sunwoo replied. We needed to hear your threats directly, to understand what kind of civilization the hegemony truly is. Now we know. In low Earth orbit, the 3,000 microsatellites formed a complete network. Each one was small, but together they created a defense grid capable of intercepting any weapon the Arcturians might deploy. From hidden bases beneath Antarctica, massive energy cannons emerged from the ice, pointing skyward. In the Sahara Desert, what had appeared to be endless sand dunes transformed as camouflage fields deactivated, revealing launch platforms for space-based interceptors. On the dominant Will, Tak's officers frantically reported new threats appearing across the solar system. Hidden bases on Mars, automated defense platforms in the asteroid belt, and energy signatures suggesting human presence as far out as the moons of Jupiter. "This is impossible," Tak muttered. "Your species should be centuries away from this level of technology." "We are quick learners," President Sunwoo replied, "and highly motivated. The threat of our own extinction drove us to develop weapons that could end our civilization. The threat of alien invasion drove us to perfect them." From his command chair, Tak assessed the situation with growing horror. His single warship, while powerful, was now surrounded by weapons platforms that matched or exceeded its capabilities. The easy conquest he had planned was now impossible. "What are your terms?" he asked, his voice much less confident than before. President Sunwoo's expression hardened. "You came to our world with demands for submission and threats of destruction. You plan to reduce us to slaves and strip our planet of resources. Do you truly believe we would now offer you terms?" Tak felt fear for the first time in his long military career. "You cannot expect to defeat the entire hegemony. We have thousands of warships, hundreds of conquered worlds. This is just one ship." "We are well aware of your fleet's strength," President Sunwoo replied. "We have been monitoring your communications and mapping your territory for years. We know the location of every major Arcturian world, every fleet position, every supply line." She leaned forward slightly. "But we are not monsters, Commander. Unlike you, we don't believe in unprovoked attacks or threats of orbital bombardment. We will allow your ship to leave our system intact with a message for your leaders." On the bridge of the dominant will, Tak's officers waited anxiously for his response. To retreat would be unprecedented in hegemony history. No conquest mission had ever failed so completely. "What message?" Tak asked finally. "Earth and the entire Sol system are now declared a sovereign zone," President Sunwoo stated firmly. "Any future Arcturian vessels entering our space without explicit permission will be considered hostile acts of war. We are prepared to defend not just our planet, but any world threatened by your expansion." She paused to let her words sink in. "You have 1 hour to depart. After that, we cannot guarantee your safety." As the communication ended, Tak stared at the blank screen. Around him, his officers awaited orders, their confidence shattered by the revelation of humanity's true power. "Prepare the ship for departure," he said quietly. "Send a priority message to the Hegemony Council. The situation here is not as we expected." As the dominant will began powering its engines, sensors around Earth continued tracking its every move. In the command center beneath the Swiss Alps, military leaders watched the alien vessel with weapons locked on target. "Do you think they'll return with a larger fleet?" General Kim asked. President Sunwoo, who had delivered her message from this secure location, rather than her actual office, shook her head. "Not immediately. They'll need time to assess what happened here. Time to realize that their entire approach to expansion needs to be reconsidered." She watched the alien ship growing smaller on the display as it moved away from Earth. Today marks a new chapter in human history. Not just first contact, but first resistance. The trap had not just been sprung, it had worked perfectly. Humanity had revealed enough of its strength to deter an invasion, while still keeping many of its most advanced weapons secret. The shadow game would continue, but the rules had changed forever. Commander Tech's vessel halted its retreat at the edge of Earth's solar system. For 3 hours, the bridge crew had remained silent, processing their humiliation. The Arcturian hegemony had never retreated before. In 17 conquests, they had always been the superior force. Tak paced the command deck, his pride wounded but his tactical mind racing. "This changes nothing," he announced suddenly. "The humans have revealed their deception. But one planet, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the combined might of the hegemony." His officers exchanged uncertain glances. The sensor readings from Earth had shown technology that matched or exceeded their own in several key areas. "Sir," his second-in-command ventured, "perhaps we should report back to the Council before taking further action." Tak's third eye narrowed. "And admit defeat?" "No. The humans surprised us once. It will not happen again." He turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to Earth. On Earth, the defense network immediately detected the incoming transmission. In the Alpine Command Center, President Sunwoo had been consulting with her military advisors about next steps when the alert came through. The Arcturian vessel is hailing us, reported Admiral Park. They've stopped at the orbit of Neptune. Put them through, Sunwoo ordered, straightening her uniform. Commander Tuck's image appeared on the main screen. His posture was different now, no longer relaxed and condescending, but rigid with controlled fury. President Sunwoo, he began, your deception has been noted. However, you must understand that what you have seen is merely one ship of the Arcturian fleet. Even now, I could summon reinforcements that would overwhelm even your impressive defenses. President Sunwoo maintained a neutral expression. We've been monitoring your transmissions, Commander. We know you haven't contacted your superiors yet. You're bluffing. Tuck's facial membranes tightened, the Arcturian equivalent of a scowl. This is your final opportunity. Accept protectorate status under more generous terms, or face the consequences of your defiance. The hegemony has never failed to conquer a target world. Admiral Park leaned close to President Sunwoo. He's desperate, trying to salvage his mission. President Sunwoo nodded slightly. Commander Tuck, we have already demonstrated a fraction of our defensive capabilities. Perhaps you need further evidence that threats are not in your best interest. She gestured to General Kim, who spoke into his communication device. Authorize Operation Clear Sky. Captain Hana, you are go for demonstration. In Earth orbit, a sleek vessel detached from an orbital defense station. Unlike the bulky armored design of Arcturian warships, this human craft was elegant and streamlined, barely a quarter the size of the dominant will. Its hull gleamed with a material that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. On the Arcturian bridge, Tak observed the approaching ship with dismissive amusement. They send one tiny vessel. Scan it. His sensor officer complied. Single ship, minimal weapons signature. No threat to our vessel, Commander. Their hull material is unusual, some form of composite we haven't encountered before, but nothing that could withstand our primary weapons. They're being theatrical, Tak said with renewed confidence, trying to intimidate us with a display. On the bridge of the UES Thermopylae, Captain Hana sat calmly in the command chair. Unlike the crowded bridges of Arcturian vessels, her ship operated with a crew of only 12, each specialist monitoring advanced systems that required minimal oversight. Phase drive charged to 100%. Reported her navigation officer. Coordinates locked. Weapons system primed, added her tactical officer. Target parameters set. Captain Hana nodded. Begin approach sequence. Let them track us normally. The Thermopylae accelerated toward the Arcturian vessel, appearing on their sensors as moving quickly but conventionally through space. Nothing in its approach suggested capabilities beyond what the Arcturians would expect from an advanced, but still inferior civilization. On the dominant will, Tak watched with growing confidence. They're approaching at sublight speed. No unusual energy readings. Perhaps their earlier display was all they could muster. They'll enter our weapons range in 30 seconds, his tactical officer reported. Prepare to fire a warning shot, Tak ordered. Show them the futility of this gesture. But before the Arcturians could act, something impossible happened. The human vessel simply vanished from their sensors. Where did they go? Tak demanded, his voice rising. Find them. His crew frantically searched all sensor bands, but the ship had completely disappeared. Not cloaked, not hidden, gone. Then, alarms blared across the bridge. Internal sensors detecting an object, shouted the security officer. Something has appeared inside our shield perimeter. The Thermopylae had reappeared barely 100 meters from the hull of the dominant will, hovering just outside a viewport where Tak could clearly see it. The human vessel had somehow bypassed the Arcturian shields completely, a technology thought impossible by every spacefaring race the hegemony had encountered. A communication channel opened automatically. Captain Hana's face appeared on the Arcturian view screen. "This is Captain Hannah of the United Earth ship Thermopylae," she said calmly. "This is a demonstration. We could have materialized inside your command center." Tak stared in disbelief. The implications were staggering. If human ships could bypass shields and appear anywhere, no Arcturian vessel or world would be safe. "How? How did you do this?" he asked, his arrogance forgotten. "Phase shift technology," Captain Hannah replied matter-of-factly. "Your shields exist in normal spacetime. We temporarily shifted into an adjacent dimensional plane before reappearing. To us, your shields might as well not exist." Tak's tactical officer whispered urgently, "Commander, if they can do this, they could place weapons directly inside our ship. We have no defense against such technology." Captain Hannah continued, "We have one more demonstration, Commander. Please direct your sensors toward Jupiter's third moon." The Arcturian sensor officer quickly focused their long-range scanners on the specified target. Jupiter's third moon was a small, uninhabited rock, roughly 20 kilometers in diameter. "What about it?" Tak asked. "Just watch," Captain Hannah replied. The Thermopylae turned slightly, orienting itself away from the Arcturian vessel. A narrow aperture opened on its hull, revealing what appeared to be a simple focusing lens. There was no visible beam, no massive energy buildup that the Arcturians could detect. But on their sensors, something impossible happened. The entire moon simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, a solid celestial body orbiting the gas giant. The next, it was gone. Not destroyed, not shattered into pieces, but completely converted to energy in a controlled reaction that defied Arcturian understanding of physics. The energy release was enormous, but somehow contained, not radiating outward destructively, but seemingly channeled somewhere else. The Arcturian sensors struggled to comprehend what they were detecting. "By the first egg," whispered Tak's science officer. "They've somehow converted matter directly to energy with perfect efficiency. That should be impossible." Captain Hannah's expression remained calm. "That moon was approximately 1/8 the mass of your flagship, Commander Tak. We currently have 47 weapons platforms with similar capabilities targeted on your vessel." The bridge of the Dominant will fell completely silent. Every crew member understood the implications. Their most powerful weapons could devastate a planet's surface, but this human technology could make matter simply cease to exist. "The energy from the moon has been safely channeled to our collection grid," Captain Hannah continued. "We don't believe in wasting resources. That single demonstration will power Earth's defense grid for approximately 3 years. Tak sank slowly back into his command chair. In all his years of service to the hegemony, he had never encountered a species with such advanced technology. The humans hadn't just matched Arcturian capabilities, they had surpassed them in ways that seemed impossible. "Why reveal this now?" he asked finally. "If you possessed such power, why maintain the charade at all?" "Because we are not conquerors, Commander," Captain Hannah replied. "We developed these technologies for defense, not aggression. We revealed only what was necessary to ensure you understood our position." She paused, letting her words sink in. "My ship will now return to Earth. You have a decision to make, Commander Tak. You can return to your hegemony and report honestly what you've witnessed here, or you can attempt further hostilities and face the consequences." With that, the Thermopylae's engines glowed briefly. Then it vanished again, reappearing instantly near Earth orbit. A journey that should have taken hours even at the fastest conventional speeds. On the bridge of the Dominant Will, Commander Tak sat in stunned silence. His crew awaited orders, but for the first time in his career, he had none to give. The hegemony's entire understanding of what was possible in warfare had just been shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Set course for hegemony space," he said finally. "Maximum speed." As the Arcturian vessel turned and accelerated away from the Sol system, Earth's defense network tracked its departure. In the Alpine Command Center, President Sunwoo watched the tactical display with Admiral Park and General Kim. "Do you think they've learned their lesson?" the Admiral asked. President Sunwoo's expression was thoughtful. They've learned that we're not the easy conquest they expected. But species don't abandon their nature overnight. The Arcturians have been conquerors for centuries. This is just the beginning of a much longer game. The Arcturian High Council chamber fell silent as Commander Tak finished his report. 17 high-ranking Arcturians sat around a crescent-shaped table, their expressions ranging from disbelief to anger. The chamber, normally filled with confident discussions of conquest and resource allocation, now held only uncertainty. "This recording will confirm everything I've reported," Tak said, activating a holographic display. The council watched as the human ship Thermopylae disappeared and reappeared inside their flagship shields, then witnessed the complete conversion of Jupiter's moon into energy. High Counselor Mech, the oldest and most respected member of the hegemony's leadership, leaned forward. "In all our history, we have never encountered such technology. These humans hide their true capabilities behind a primitive facade. We should assemble the Grand Fleet immediately," said Counselor Rek, the most hawkish of the group. "If we strike with overwhelming force and risk having our entire fleet converted to energy," interrupted Counselor Lek, head of scientific research. "Did you not witness what their weapons can do? One small ship erased a moon from existence. They have 47 such platforms, and those are just the ones they reveal to us." The debate raged for hours. Some counselors argued for immediate military action, others for diplomatic outreach, and still others for quarantining the entire Sol system and pretending humans didn't exist. Finally, High Counselor Mech raised his hand for silence. "For 3 centuries, the hegemony has expanded based on our technological superiority. That advantage no longer exists. For the first time, we have encountered a species that can destroy us more easily than we can destroy them." His words hung heavy in the air. The concept was almost impossible for many to accept. "We will send diplomatic envoys," Mech declared finally. "We will acknowledge Earth as a sovereign power, and we will reassess our expansion policies immediately." News traveled quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. Species that had feared the Arcturian hegemony for generations suddenly learned of its unexpected withdrawal from Earth. Intercepted communications revealed the reason. The seemingly primitive humans possessed military technology generations ahead of other civilizations. On the desert world of Proxima Centauri b, the reptilian Centaurians, who had been under Arcturian rule for 30 years, gathered in underground chambers to discuss this revelation. The humans stood against the hegemony and won, whispered Elder Soth to the assembled resistance leaders. "Perhaps the time has come to reconsider our position." Similar conversations occurred on dozens of worlds. Species that had lived in fear now saw a possibility for change. Some reached out cautiously to Earth through secret channels. Others began planning rebellions against their Arcturian overseers. 3 months after the encounter with Commander Tak's ship, a historic gathering took place on a neutral space station orbiting Saturn. Representatives from 26 spacefaring species arrived in vessels of all shapes and sizes. Some came openly as sovereign powers, others secretly as representatives of occupied worlds. The space station's central chamber had been redesigned for the occasion. A circular table accommodated all delegates equally, with no position of prominence. Earth was represented by President Sunwoo and a small delegation of military and diplomatic advisors. The Arcturian representative, Ambassador Pak, entered last. The room fell silent as the former conqueror took his place at the table. His posture was stiff, his expression carefully neutral. "Welcome to the Sol system," President Sunwoo began. "We gather today to establish a new framework for galactic relations, one based on mutual respect rather than domination." Over the next 5 days, the delegates negotiated what would become known as the Sol Accords. The treaty's primary provisions recognized Earth's sovereignty and established new protocols for peaceful first contact throughout the galaxy. More significantly, it included clauses that would gradually restore independence to worlds conquered by the hegemony. Ambassador Pak objected strongly to these latter provisions. The hegemony cannot simply abandon worlds that have been integrated into our economic system for generations, he argued. Your economic system of taking 90% of resources while providing nothing in return, countered the Proximan delegate, her scales changing color with emotion. That is not economics. That is theft. What surprised many observers was Earth's moderate position during these heated exchanges. Rather than demanding immediate Arcturian withdrawal from all conquered worlds, the human delegates proposed a 10-year transition period with increasing local autonomy. Stability serves everyone's interests, President Sunwoo explained. Sudden change leads to chaos. A measured approach will allow all worlds to adjust. On the final day, the Seoul Accords were signed by all 26 species. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Arcturian hegemony formally recognized limits to its expansion. The treaty included provisions for a joint defense force, trade agreements that benefited all signatories, and a council where disputes could be resolved peacefully. As the delegates departed, many approached the humans privately with offers of alliance or technology exchange. President Sunwoo directed all such approaches to Earth's diplomatic corps with the same response. We seek friendship with all, dominance over none. Back on Earth, in the secure underground command center beneath the Alps, President Sunwoo met with her inner circle to discuss the outcomes. The mood was celebratory but cautious. The Arcturians signed, General Kim noted, but we can't trust them to honor the agreement indefinitely. Their culture is built on conquest. That's why the treaty includes verification protocols, President Sunwoo replied. And why we're maintaining our full defense grid. Admiral Jun, who had overseen the space-based aspects of Earth's defense preparations, smiled broadly. It doesn't matter. Our bluff worked perfectly. No one knows what we can and can't actually do. President Sunwoo gave him a peculiar look. Who said anything about a bluff? The room fell silent as her words sank in. The implication was clear. What Earth had revealed, the phase shift technology, the matter-to-energy conversion weapons, the quantum displacement fields, might not be their most advanced capabilities. Are you saying the Thermopylae demonstration wasn't our highest technology? Admiral Jun asked carefully. President Sunwoo's slight smile returned. I'm saying humanity has lived with the threat of self-destruction for centuries. That experience taught us to always maintain options that even our closest allies don't know about. General Kim's eyes widened slightly. The Omega protocols. The president nodded once. Let's just say that what Commander Tak witnessed was impressive enough to secure peace without revealing capabilities that might provoke fear. This was the delicate balance Earth's leadership had maintained throughout the crisis. They had shown enough strength to deter aggression, but not so much that other species would feel compelled to unite against them out of fear. In the weeks that followed, Earth continued its careful diplomatic dance. Aid was offered to formerly conquered worlds without strings attached. Trade relationships were established with dozens of species. Earth's ships began appearing throughout nearby systems, always as visitors rather than occupiers. On the Arcturian homeworld, military leaders studied the new galactic order with mixed emotions. Some accepted the change as inevitable, while others planned in secret for a return to expansion once new technologies could be developed. Fleet Admiral Neck, who had replaced the disgraced Commander Tak, reviewed the latest intelligence reports on Earth. Their vessels have been detected near the Orion Nebula, he told the High Council. Always in small numbers, always responding to invitations from local species. And their weapons capabilities? Asked Counselor Rek. We've observed nothing beyond what was demonstrated to Commander Tak, Admiral Neck replied. But that doesn't mean such capabilities don't exist. The humans are methodical. They reveal only what serves their purposes. High Counselor Mech nodded slowly. Then we will be equally methodical. We will honor the Seoul Accords while building our understanding of human psychology and technology. The hegemony has existed for millennia. We can be patient. 6 months after the signing of the Seoul Accords, President Sunwoo stood at a viewport in the Lunar Command Center, looking out at Earth. The blue planet hung serenely against the blackness of space, giving no hint of the advanced defense systems that now surrounded it. Admiral June joined her at the viewport. The latest reports show the Arcturians have withdrawn from 3 more systems. The Proxima Centauri civilization has formally regained independence. And our deep space monitors? She asked. No unusual activity. The galaxy seems to be adjusting to the new balance of power. President Sunwoo nodded, satisfied but not complacent. Maintain full alert status. The greatest test of power isn't using it, but knowing when to hold it in reserve. As they spoke, Earth's newest vessel, the UES Prometheus, prepared for its maiden voyage. Larger than the Thermopylae, but still elegant in design, it incorporated technologies that had not been revealed during the confrontation with the Arcturians. Captain Hana, newly promoted to fleet captain, walked through the vessel's corridors, inspecting systems that few humans even knew existed. The ship represented humanity's true philosophy. Prepare for the worst while working toward the best. Earth had not conquered. It had not dominated. Instead, it had revealed just enough of its strength to secure peace without provoking fear. The greatest victory wasn't won through